This is the next in the series on when Dor Sheben David Ba. When is David HaMelech? When is Moshiach coming? In our last session here on Torah Anytime, we discussed there'll be lots of chutzpah in the world. We discussed that luxury has become the norm in the world around us. And we discussed that people have an insatiable need for gashmias, for physical things. Today, number 4, is that there's going to be an unbelievable amount of kfira, of a lack of belief in God and Torah. V'amalchus tehapach Aluminous. The world for thousands of years after Constantine, after Avodah Zarah fell to the wayside in the Western world, became a world of belief. The Rambam writes in Hilchos Melachim that the reason why Christianity and Islam would proliferate throughout the world is because it was getting closer to a belief in one God, so that when Moshiach comes, then so much of the believing world would be there. But before Ben David comes, there's going to be a great surge of kfira, of Dawkins, that the universities are going to have filled with atheism. Malchus tehapach Aluminous, number 4. Number 5, ein tochachas. And even when people do something wrong, they don't want to hear you tell them. We live in a world that can't suffer authority. No one wants to hear from the police. No one wants to hear from government. No one wants to hear from what authorities have to say. But the Torah is here as an authority. Ve'ein tochachas. If you're living in a world that people don't want to hear Musar, then you know Moshiach is on his way. Beis vad yeliznus. That holy places are going to be places of immorality. We've seen that in our day in 2 ways. Number 1, in Europe, there's a whole map of thousands of shuls that used to be, and so many of them today in Eastern Europe are now bars. Beis vad yeliznus. Additionally, in non-halachic houses of worship, those temples become beis vad liznus also. They're places where people aren't dressed appropriately, they don't behave appropriately, that you can't tell the difference between that and going to a nightclub. Number 7 and number 8 have to do with places in Israel that I can't say I really understand. Gull Allele yecharev, the Gull Allele is going to somehow be destroyed. V'anshe hagvul yisovavu me'ir le'ir v'lo yechonenu. But the last one I want to do is Chachmas Sofrim Tisrach v'yirei achet yamasu. That the Torah itself is going to be questioned. There have been more copies of the Torah, of the Bible, printed throughout the millennia since the printing press than any other book. And today, even though it's held with import by many, so much of the world does not understand the veracity, the truth of every single letter and word. We're living at a time where people ridicule the Torah. They don't want to hear ethics. They don't want to hear reproof. Where we've seen places of worship turn into places of znus, and that people don't want to hear rebuke because we're living at a time of atheism. This is the era of Ben David Ba.